It's Mama Beth and I'm back in the kitchen getting ready to make those Nutella brownies that I talked about. I found a different recipe and it looked a little bit more sensible for someone who's been baking all these years. And if you've been baking, you can kind of tell from a recipe whether they're taking shortcuts or whether they're doing it the old-fashioned way. I like doing it the old-fashioned way. So what I thought I'd do is start by reading the recipe off so everybody will have it. And you can follow along with me in your kitchen and just pause the video. But we're going to talk a little bit later. I'll have you a message, but I wanted you to see exactly what goes into these. I've got a half cup of butter melted. It's already in my good old mixing bowl. And now I'm going to put in a cup of sugar. You know, I have to look over my glasses to see. But put a cup of sugar in there. And then the 2 eggs. Now, if you're not a cook and you don't know how to do eggs, practice. Practice, practice, practice. But a good hard smack and open should do it. I'm just going to be messy and put them back on there. Thick, no shells, no problem. All together. Okay, now this recipe, I'm going to read it out so I don't screw it up. I forget which site. This comes from A Worthy Read is where I found this one. So if you want to find it yourself, it's under Nutella Oreo Brownie Bites. But it's really easy to make. It doesn't have a lot of crazy ingredients other than Nutella and some Oreos, which if you're a mom, you probably already have Oreos. It takes a half a cup of butter melted, a cup of sugar, 2 eggs, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, a cup of flour, or excuse me, a half a cup of flour, a 1/3 cup cocoa powder, a pinch of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. Then you're going to need 24 Oreos, and you're going to need half a cup of Nutella. Now I've already got my butter in there, my sugar, my eggs, and as with any recipe, you want to add all of that together. And I'm going to put in, let's see, how much is it? It's 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I have my grandmother's measuring spoons. We're going to talk about having things in the kitchen that are old and mean something to you and are antique, but I don't cook without these measuring spoons, and they never let me down. I never screw up a recipe as long as I've got Dee Dee's measuring spoons and her other stuff. I've got her, a lot of her mixing bowls. I've got a lot of her, you know, various utensils. I've got some of her cookie jars, of course, and I love it. I love all of it. Now it says to put in a pinch of salt. If you want to know what a pinch of salt is, if you had it out in a bowl, you just pinch it up, put it in. But if you put it in your hand, like I do, and I got a little too much, of course. Looks about like that. Ah! Flat, it covers about the size of a quarter in your palm. Maybe a little bit less. But throw that in there because you're going to have some stick to your palm. And that's why you have your sink and your towel there. Okay, I've got the salt in there. I've got the sugar. I've got the vanilla, the eggs, and the butter. So let's get it started. All you have to do is turn this sucker on and it's ready to go. I'll come back in just a second and show you how it looks. As you can see, everything's blended real well. It's not a whole lot in there, so you can probably double the recipe after you get used to it. I use my KitchenAid mixer, and it makes sure that everything's blended pretty well. You want to make sure that the egg yolks are all broke up, and it's nice and smooth when you're done. While that's blending, the easiest way to fold everything together is by putting your dry ingredients into this. So I've got, let's see, my 1/3 cup of cocoa powder. Now, you hear me tapping it, it's because it's finely milled. And a lot of times, it'll stick, even though it's not wet. So you want to make sure you get all of it out of there. So I've got my cocoa powder in there, salt's already in. I'm going to put half a cup of flour. And yes, all of my measuring ingredients are different because I have different sets. This was my grandmother's too. So I've got that in there. Now I'm going to need to put 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder. Be real careful in your cooking to make sure you know what the difference in all-purpose flour is, which doesn't have any baking soda or baking powder or anything in it. They're all different kinds of flour. And if you cook long enough, you'll get to learn with the different recipes. But I'm using just regular all-purpose flour here. Let's see. I need 1/4 of a cup, or 1/4 of a teaspoon. There we go. Lord, I don't want to tell y'all cups when it should be teaspoons. That would screw things up, wouldn't it? Okay, and I want to level it off. Make sure I got it nice and complete. See? All good. 1/4 teaspoon. And I just want to shake that in around there. Okay. Now, of course, I always have my phone with me because that's where I have all my recipes linked down to. I download recipes off the internet all the time, and I tweak them and I play with them and I save them in my notes, and then I download them to my computer for later. We've got our baking powder in there and our cocoa and flour, and everything's in there, so we just need to mix it up now. So let me show you what that's going to look like. And that's what it looks like once it's all mixed up. Now you need to scrape around the sides. I use my wooden spoon. I love wooden spoons because they don't react with anything, but you mix it up real good. Scrape down everything on the edges. Make sure you get the bottom. Come on, handy cam. There we go. And you see it's a nice brownie mix. It's mixing up. It's going to be good. Now, for these, I decided that I needed some different baking pans. I only have the larger muffin pans because usually, why make a muffin if you're going to make it little? You might as well make it big. But I told my husband, I said, this calls for some smaller muffin tins and I need the cups to go with it. And he said, well, look what I found. And at Walmart, they had disposable. There are 3 of them. And they even come with the cups to go in it. So that'll make it real easy. Now, he also, because he knows me, he also bought extra liners. So if I decide to go crazy and make 2 or 3 batches of this, I'll have plenty of tins. Oh, and by the way, set your oven to 350, okay? And let me tell you this, when you're cooking anything, especially if you're using a disposable tin like this or a disposable baking pan, the best thing to do, and I found this out, this is a good trick, put cookie sheets on your bottom level. Now I have one of the air baked cookie sheets that has a little bit of space between the first level of metal and the second, and it's just full of air. It just helps it cook evenly. But I keep that on the bottom rack of my stove, and that way when I'm cooking, if I'm using something thinner like this, I get a better result. Because my oven's old, I gotta redo this kitchen sometime. But we're gonna show you how to put the brownies together. And make sure you got that oven on preheat, 350. Okay, now the recipe says take 2 Oreos, so that's what we're going to start with. Oh, by the way, you're going to need 12 cups. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I did not need the 3rd pan, but the 3rd pan was going to have yellow liners in it, and I can't stand the color yellow, so that's fine with me. Okay, let's get out 2 cookies, 2 Oreos, and it says that you can use any kind of cookie, any kind of, I guess, knockoffs, but I don't like to do that. If I'm going to make something, I'm going to make it the right way. I got my Nutella and my cookies. Y'all forgive my bad camera angles. I'm doing the best I can. And you take a big old scoop like that, and you put it between the Oreos like that. Now my hands are clean. I've washed them in the sink with soap and bleach water, so my hands are good and clean. It should be. And you just put it down in a muffin tin like that, and it should sit down there just fine. Let me do another one. Yeah, if I'm going to make something that says Nutella and Oreo brownie bites, I'm sure as heck going to use real Oreos, because I can tell the difference in real ones and fake ones. There you go. Doesn't that look good? Okay, I'm going to stop now and we'll skip ahead to where they're all filled. And voila, there we go. Look at that. Oh, you know what? That was an awful lot of trouble. I think I'd have just eat the Nutella by itself and the Oreos by themselves. It would probably be just as good. But who knows, we're going to try this. I may screw it up. It may turn out like crap. I may have wasted all these ingredients. But at least we had fun doing it. It got a little messy. It's always fun to get a little messy in the kitchen. Okay, now it says to take spoonfuls of batter and put it on the top like that, and then it'll run over. We'll see. I think this recipe may be meant for my big muffin tins and not the little ones, but we're going to try it. We'll see what happens. It said to use this size, so I'm listening, but boy, that better pop up. Otherwise, I'll just make regular brownies. Say to heck with it, I'll just put Oreos on top. But you see how that's going? This batter actually looks really good. And if you're one of the people like me, and like my young'uns, you like to eat cake batter, brownie batter, and cookie dough, and all of that, then you'll appreciate this better, because let me tell you, you could eat it without cooking it if it didn't have eggs in it. Well, I eat the eggs anyway. I've never gotten food poisoning from eggs, but I always use fresh ones. And here we go. Doesn't that look pretty? Oh, I know it's going to taste good. Okay. I'm going to finish the rest, and I'll be right back. Okay, there you go. Now, in the recipe, it says that the lady who made this was concerned that first it would cover the cookies completely, but it didn't. It goes around it, supposedly. And whoever invented this recipe, they measured it out pretty good because they used exactly all of my mix. So that's pretty cool. Now, I used just a big old tablespoon, just like you use at the table, and spooned out about one rounded tablespoon on the top of each one of these. But the recipe says that she used a 1/8 measuring cup, and it seemed to be a perfect amount for each stack. And we're going to bake it at 350 for 20 to 25 minutes. Then we'll see what happens. Okay, everything's in the oven now, and I washed some dishes, and you can hear the dishwasher going if you hadn't heard it before. You know, one of the things that growing older, I miss having my youngin at home, especially when I bake. You know why? Because she always wanted to lick the spoon. But one of the perks of having kids out of the house, you get to lick your own spoon. Or in my case, since this has got so much sugar in it, my husband's going to do it. Doesn't that look good? Okay, now that we've cleaned everything up, I want to talk to you about our message for tonight. You know, I always try to have some words of wisdom when I'm in the kitchen cooking. And see these bags, these gallon hefty bags, or if you get the knockoffs or whatever, I have a real problem with throwing these away. I don't like to throw them away. I feel like I'm wasting things. So I always, you know, wash the outsides, and depending on what's been in them. But I wash the outside, and then I turn them inside out, and wash the inside, and then I let them air dry. And I use these for everything. I put my flour, I just drop the bag of flour down in, zip it up. I do the same with my sugar, and everything stays a little bit cleaner that way. And I was raised to clean as you go. My mother was very OCD about being very clean in the kitchen, and you know, that's the way you should. You should try to be clean and keep everything as neat as possible. But my grandmothers taught me differently. They said, you know, clean as you go, but don't be afraid to make a mess. Don't be afraid of things that are different or change. And don't be afraid to get things a little bit dirty, or leave them alone when they're dirty. Sometimes it's better off left alone. And I don't know if you all recognize Aunt Jemima. It's a cookie jar. And there's a lot of African Americana out there, and a lot of people collect. I have lots of friends who collect. But this was my Dee Dee's, and when she passed away, it came to me, and as we were cleaning out her house, my mother was, of course, wiping and cleaning as she always does, but in her hurry to clean up, and without a thought, she put Aunt Jemima in the dishwasher. And what happens? Well, Aunt Jemima lost all the paint. Aunt Jemima's now white as she can be, except for just a few little, oh, don't let me break her, a few little streaks that were part of her apron. Now, I, of course, was horrified because I took care of my grandma, my Dee Dee, for years, and she was my heart. And when that came out of the dishwasher, I cried. But then I thought, you know what? I'll keep it just like it is. It's still of use. It's still of use. It's still just as good as it was with the paint on it, and it still has all the memories. Yeah, nobody's going to be able to sell it on eBay now, but I wouldn't have anyway. And that was a lesson to me that sometimes things that have been on the shelf for a while and look real pretty don't need to be scrubbed and bleached and wiped all the time, because you'll ruin them. You'll ruin their exterior. You know, the intrinsic value, the sentimental value is still there, but sometimes you got to go a little bit slower. Take a little more care, like I do with my, you know, my saving of the bags and things like that. You know, it takes a little time to wash them and let them air dry so they're good and clean, but then I get to reuse them again. And it's time-saving measures sometimes that give us the biggest trouble. You know, you don't rush so much. Slow down a little bit. You know, and if things are dusty, that's okay. On my Twitter, you'll find a poem called Dust If You Must. And now I'm using my cell phone as an extra light, but I want to read that to you, because when I first found this poem, I was like, oh, that means so much, because y'all know I like to clean. The poem, I wish I knew the author, but it's called Dust If You Must. This is from a book called Forever and Anon. So I guess it's anonymous, but it says, dust if you must, but wouldn't it be better to paint a picture or write a letter? Bake a cake or plant a seed? Ponder the difference between want and need. Dust if you must, but there's not much time. With rivers to swim and mountains to climb, music to hear and books to read, friends to cherish and life to lead. Dust if you must, but the world's out there with the sun in your eyes and the wind in your hair, a flutter of snow and a shower of rain. This day will not come around again. Dust if you must, but bear in mind, old age will come and it's not kind. And when you go, and go you must, you yourself will make more dust. And that's my lesson for the day. Dust if you must. But take time to cherish life, okay? And I'll be right back with some hopefully delicious brownies. Okay, let's see how they turned out. Ooh, 25 minutes. And you can see my old baking pan. And I'm just going to pull it out like this. Oh, let's see if I can do this without burning myself. I'll let you take a look. Oh, doesn't that look delicious? Let me pull it up here a little bit. Now that's yummy. I'm going to put them over here on the stove. Close things up. And let's see what they look like. Okay, well, just like a regular brownie, they didn't puff up a lot. But you can see they're nice and tender. And once these cool, they'll be delicious. I promise I'll put pictures up. But listen, Hugh Hefner died at 91 today. And he did a lot of good things in this world. Some things people don't agree with, but other things that were great. And I want to talk for just a second about the founder of Playboy. You know, Hugh Hefner was an American icon, even if you don't like porn, and really, who doesn't like porn? But he died at 91 today. That's a long life. I've got a 96-year-old grandmother, and I treasure her. And I just wanted to read a little bit because I think people today forget just how groundbreaking he actually was politically and in freedom of speech. You know, Playboy did more than show naked women. Nowadays, you can see porn free on all sorts of internet sites. It's everywhere. But back when he began at his kitchen table, 64 years ago, he began at his kitchen table, he mortgaged his furniture to start Playboy magazine. And it's a huge company. It was groundbreaking, but they released a statement, and I'd like to read just a bit of it so you understand. Playboy, from the start, was about more than just the beautiful women featured in its pages. Mr. Hefner took a progressive approach, not only to sexuality and humor, but also to literature, politics, and culture. Within its pages, Playboy published fiction by such writers as Ray Bradbury, Charles Beaumont, John Updike, Ian Fleming, Joseph Heller, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, Margaret Atwood, Jack Kerouac, and Kurt Vonnegut. That's an amazing thing to do. He also did interviews, and the Playboy style interview is still the landmark for today. He interviewed first the jazz legend Miles Davis, and if you don't know who Miles Davis is, I can't help you because his music, love jazz. Anyway, he also interviewed political figures, and I remember reading some of these interviews in college. He interviewed Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and probably the most famous is George Lincoln Rockwell. He was the founder of the American Nazi Party, and that was an interesting interview, especially for somebody like me who's totally against that crap. But you learned a lot. And then he had the television show, Playboy's Penthouse, and then there was the reality show with the girls, and you know, I loved watching Holly and, you know, the other girls. What's her face? Kendra. Yeah, and she's had spin-off shows, and they've made their careers from him, as have many others. But sorry to see him go. Rest in peace, Hugh. Dust if you must. But remember, there might be sex and chocolate out there. I've got chocolate, and Lord knows he had no sex. But y'all have a good night, or good morning, wherever you are. And remember, I love you, and you love yourself. Bye.